Who's ready to fix the budget? Who's ready to stop the crime? Who's ready to make common sense common again? And who's ready to put Canada first? Wow, what an incredible place. What a special place. I've just been here for a few hours, got off the ferry, went to the Forest Pub and Bistro for a nice steak. Wow, a delicious steak. Go and visit them. Support your local restaurants and small businesses. Came over here and I was told that this was a small NDP town. That there were no conservatives in Powell River. Well, the truth is, Powell River and the great NDP voters, they didn't leave their party, the NDP left them, right? The NDP betrayed the working people, betrayed Western Canada, betrayed all the good, honest people who had voted for them in order to sell out and sign on with Justin Trudeau, didn't they? And why does Jagmeet Singh keep delaying the election? $2.2 million pension. You know, I bet he wouldn't show his face around here. And who's the NDP MP here? Who? Rachel Blaney. Has anybody seen her? We're going to file a missing persons report to find out who this person is. But you know who Aaron Gunn is, don't you? Aaron Gunn, patriotic Canadian, legendary documentarian, who's been shedding light on many of the nation's biggest problems, a talented artist, writer, author, and he is going to be a phenomenal voice for the people of Powell River. One more time for Aaron Gunn. I love being back in British Columbia. It brings back so many memories. Of course, I'm a born and bred Alberta boy. We Albertans, we are that strange alien species that invades your province, but just in the winter for your ski hills and in the summer for your lakes and oceans. And then we vanish in the shoulder seasons. But we always spend a phenomenal amount of money. That's a good thing. And we love our British Columbian neighbors because we're all proud Western Canadians. And we want the West to have a strong voice. When we used to come camping in British Columbia, I learned some of my best lessons. See, I was adopted from a single mother who was 16 years old to 2 school teachers. And they take us on road trips. And I remember once we went to the Okanagan, and we were camping. And I went to the lake, and I looked out, and there were these people buzzing around. And what I later learned were these things called sea-doos, jet skis. Gee, that looks like a lot of fun. So I asked my dad, maybe I could have a jet ski, and you could rent it for me. He said, well, we can't afford that. But for $5, we can rent you one of those little pedal boats. Almost as good. And so, anyway, I reluctantly accepted. I pedaled my way out into the middle of the lake, and then these rich kids came along and started tearing around me on Sea-Doo. So I went back to the shore and shared with my dad a teary-eyed story. And he said, well, listen, I'll make you a deal. You get a job, you save up. When you turn 16, if you have saved enough money, then we'll lend you the minivan, and you can pay for the gas, and then drive your way out to BC, and find yourself a campground, and pay for that too, and then you can pay to rent yourself a Sea-Doo. That's the deal. And that's life. You work, you get something. And so when I got older, I turned 16, I went out that time, the second time was to the Kootenays, it was to, I think it was called Windermere, and I was able, have you ever been to Windermere? Windermere. Radium, where I was almost attacked by a bear in Radium. The black bears love to eat Albertans, I think. But anyway, the deal was in this country, if you work hard, you can get a great life. You get a nice house, good food, You can hang a beautiful Canadian flag off the front of it. That was the Canadian promise. But after 9 years of the NDP Liberals, that promise, like everything else, is broken. Everything costs more. Work doesn't pay. You make it, they take it. Housing costs have doubled, rising faster than in any other G7 country, to the point where Vancouver is now the single most expensive housing market in North America, worse than New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, the second most expensive on planet Earth, you can imagine. Where we do have homes, they're overtaken by crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder. And our people are divided as the government puts people into separate groups, turning them against each other so that it can garner more control and dominance over the people. But the good news is life was not like this before this NDP Liberal government, and it won't be like this after they're gone. We're going to bring home the country that we knew and still love. We're going to bring home the promise that anyone from anywhere can do anything, that hard work actually pays off, that families can be united, that parents can raise their kids with their own values, and that every single person can speak freely. Paul Joseph, former member of Parliament. Great to see you, Paul. And we're going to do it with a common sense plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Our goal is to bring home more affordable prices. But let's discuss for a moment why prices are so outrageous. Why is it that costs are rising? Yes, the answer is government. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. And the reason is that government pays for everything only through one method. Taxes, but that method has three names. There's taxes, there's debt, and there's money printing. All three of them are actually just taxes. But two of the three are actually quite clever and crafty. You see, let's start with deficits. When governments spend more than they bring in, they have to borrow to pay the difference. When they run out of the ability to borrow, they print money. They expand the money supply, which creates the artificial impression that they're giving you stuff for free. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? The money just falls out of the sky. And nobody realizes what real effect that has on the population in the higher prices you pay for everything. So I saw a Facebook post the other day. There was a lady in a black and white picture at a grocery store. And it said, she had a big cart full of groceries. So this lady is about to pay $10 for these groceries, which she will take to her $15,000 home. 1960. Now, obviously, you can't buy a cart of groceries for anywhere near $10, but you can't even buy an item in many grocery stores for that amount of money. And you sure as heck can't get a house for $15,000 anymore. Why?
Liberal.
Well, inflation. Sure, that was the right answer. That's my speech for the night, my folks. That's all I have to say. Now, you're going to say inflation, right? And then people always say, well, that's just inflation. But why? Why? Why do prices go up? I want you to think about something for a second. Since 1960, the average farmer can produce 4 times as much corn on the same acre of land and get 5 times as much milk from the same cow, and do it using significantly less water because of drip irrigation and less nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So we're losing, and by the way, far fewer people because of the farm machinery that does the work that used to be done by human muscular strength. So it takes less people, less water, less land, fewer animals to produce vastly more food. Shouldn't the cost of food have gone down? Yep. And then there's drinks. There's 85% less aluminum in a beer can than there was a half century ago. But a can of beer has gone up about 20-fold in price. So the cost of food has gone up about 10-fold in the time the cost of producing it has gone down. And then there's other things. Make sense of this for me. You used to be able to buy a hard copy of a book a half century ago for $1. Now you pay $20 for an e-copy. They don't need paper, ink, or delivery. It's just particles of light that are beamed to you. So shouldn't it be a lot cheaper to buy the book? It should be. So what the hell's going on? It doesn't add up. Well, the answer is that the cost of things is going down while the price is going up. Because price is determined by the amount of cash that is bidding on the goods available. Let's put it this way. If you have an economy with 10 apples, who loves apples? An apple a day keeps the woke journalists away. So let's say you have 10 apples in an economy and $10. It's $1 an apple, right? You double the number of dollars, but you still only have 10 apples. It's not that you're twice as rich, it's that each apple now costs twice as much. You got more cash bidding on a fixed supply of goods. So in the last 50 years, our economy has roughly quadrupled in size in real terms. But our money supply has grown by 6,000%. So roughly 15 times bigger growth in our money supply than the growth in the stuff that money buys. That is inflation. More money bidding on fewer goods. In the last 5 years, Canada has gone from having $1.8 trillion in coins, bills, and bank deposits to $2.5 trillion, a growth of 700 billion. That's a 40% increase in the money supply, during which time the real economy grew by 4%. So in other words, the money is growing 10 times faster than the stuff that money buys. When this happens, the price of everything goes up and your purchasing power goes down. And what does this do? It screws over the working class because your paycheck and pension buys less. But it helps big business and big government. They make off like bandits. Big business is the first to touch the newly printed money. Wealthy investors get the newly created credit, which they use to buy up assets, bidding up the price. And the working people are the last to get the new cash. By the time they do, the cost of the goods they buy are far more expensive than they were when the dollars were first earned. So it is a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yots. No wonder that under Justin Trudeau and the NDP, socialist policy, remember how they were going to help the little guy? They were going to take from the rich to give to the rest? We now have the biggest gap between rich and poor since Stats Canada began measuring it in 1999. We have 25% of our population living in poverty, 2 million people lined up in food banks. All the numbers that I talked about, they are not just numbers. Trudeau says the economy is not numbers, it's people. Well, I got news for him. Prices are numbers. Rent is a number. Food prices are numbers. Those numbers have real human impact. Numbers rule the universe, and you're paying the price for a deliberate devaluation of our money through reckless money printing. So we are going to stop the money printing and axe the inflation tax. And let me tell you how. We're going to cap government spending with a dollar-for-dollar law requiring we find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending. We're going to cut the bureaucracy, which has been growing faster than our population. We'll reduce the size of the federal public service through attrition. As people retire, we won't fill the empty spaces. We're going to cut back on the consultants. There's $21 billion that we're spending on consultants every year. That's $1,400 for every family in Canada going to federal taxes to pay for high-priced consultants who make off like bandits, doing the work that the bloated public service should be doing on behalf of Canadians. We're going to be firing the consultants. We're also going to cut back on foreign aid that goes to dictators, terrorists, and global democracies. Bring our money home. We will cut corporate welfare, the $40 billion in handouts to the companies that have powerful lobbyists. We want a free market economy where businesses get ahead by having the best product, not by having the best lobbyists. We'll bring in free enterprise capitalism, not state capitalism. You know one of the companies they gave money to? It's a company in Ontario that said that it wanted to actually produce edible crickets. It's true. It's a true story. They actually gave your money to a company that is roasting and powderizing crickets. Sounds delicious, doesn't it? You'll stick with apples? Yeah. I'll stick with apples. And we're going to cut off all of this garbage, all the money that we're throwing away on well-connected insiders. And with $1 for deal, they actually don't even understand where money comes from there. I was in the finance committee, and I had 10 finance bureaucrats there. And I said, they came forward with $7 billion, their latest thing, wanted to spend money. I said, where's the money coming from? And I sat there in dead silence for 5 minutes while 10 bureaucrats couldn't explain where government money comes from. Well, you know where it comes from. It comes out of your pocket. And when I'm Prime Minister, we will leave it in your pocket. You've been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for government to start pinching pennies too. Our central bank will no longer be used as the personal ATM of politicians. It will have one simple mandate: low inflation, and by the way, there will be no central bank digital currency. We'll get back to balanced budget. And finally, we will cut the taxes. We will axe the carbon tax to bring down gas, heat, and groceries. The NDP have passed into law not only the existing carbon tax is roughly 17 cents a liter, but a plan to quadruple that tax over the next 5 years, gradually year by year, to 61 cents a liter. You can imagine, this will grind our economy to a halt, as our truckers will no longer be able to afford the diesel to bring groceries to the store, or parts to our factories, or goods from our businesses to the market. It will bring, or the ferries, which have to use natural gas and diesel in order to bring people and goods to more isolated communities. Our rural communities will be completely wiped out by this NDP Liberal tax. We will not be able to survive in rural Canada. It will be like a nuclear winter. There will only be one person happier about this tax increase than Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau. And that, of course, well, he's the carbon tax Carney and carbon tax Christia. They will be thrilled. So will their friends at the WEF. Right? We'll all be thrilled. But there's one person who will be more thrilled than any of them. You know who that is? The guy sitting in the Oval Office. President Trump will be calling our businesses, saying, move south. Go to the sites where there's no carbon tax and where other taxes are going down. Our factories will be emptied out. Our businesses will be destroyed as billions of dollars leave our country to enrich the United States of America. They will be popping the champagne at the Trump Tower if this tax hike goes ahead. My goal is to bring the money home. We're going to axe the tax, and we're going to bring the jobs to Canada. Put Canada first. Creating more cash. We will create more of what cash buys. Imagine if instead of, in that scenario I said, where you have 10 apples and 10 Instead of doubling the number of dollars, imagine you doubled the number of apples that you grew. You had 20 apples and $10. All of a sudden, the cost of an apple goes down. The purchasing power goes up. We need to unleash the productive forces of our economy. Grow more food, build more homes, produce more energy. We have to get the government gatekeepers out of the way to do it, and we have to make it rewarding to work again. Right now, we have a war on work in this country. We punish work. I saw a cartoon the other day. It was a little boy sitting in a park with his head in his hands crying, and he was asking his dad, "What is the income tax?" And his dad said, "It's the exact opposite of your high school report card. The harder you work, the more you get punished." Income tax is the fine you pay for the crime of hard work. Now you pay more in income tax than you do on food, clothing, and shelter combined. Right? And so we not only need to get rid of the carbon tax, we need to cut income tax so that hard work actually pays off and you bring home more of each dollar you earn. We will have a task force assembled within 100 days, reporting back to me within 1 year on a massive tax cut and tax simplification. My goal is to cut the paperwork in our tax system by 20%, to cut the overall tax burden on every single person who pays it, to make it fairer by canceling the tax-funded handouts for large corporations and using the savings to lower taxes for small businesses that actually earn the money. It will be called the Bring It Home tax cut. It will be a patriotic tax cut. It will lower the taxes on work, savings, investment, home building, and making stuff in Canada with the purpose of bringing home the $500 billion of investment that has left our country for lower tax jurisdictions. I want to bring that money home, and I want it to reinvest in our factories, our businesses, our pipelines, our forestry, our mills. We're going to bring home our money and bring home our jobs. And we have to get the government gatekeepers out of the way. They stand in the way of job creation. They stand in the way of producing the things that make us better off. Let's start with the resource sector. We know the NDP, the radical NDP, wants to shut down the entire resource sector. And frankly, they're having a lot of success doing it so far. We've seen them attack small towns. We've seen mills, and you all know about that. We've seen mills close. We've seen jobs lost. We've seen the money leave, all while foreign companies make more and more profit producing the things we used to make here at home. We have the second slowest building permits anywhere in the 37-nation OECD. It's incredible. And Powell River's the worst? Is that right? There's a competition who can be the slowest. It's the snail's race to get your building permit. It's incredible. You know, everywhere you go in this country, there's a gatekeeper trying to block entrepreneurs and workers from doing things. And let's start with natural resources. We have the third biggest supply of oil on planet Earth, and we're importing 130,000 barrels of Saudi Arabian oil. We have the fifth biggest supply of natural gas. And guess what? We don't export a single solitary cubic foot of it overseas. We have to give every single ounce of that gas and almost all of the oil we produce to the Americans. And they get it at a discount. You know, we sell our oil to the Americans for $15 below the oil price per barrel because we have no one else to sell it to. And they know it. By blocking pipelines to the East Coast, which was proposed, and blocking the Northern Gateway pipeline to the West Coast, we now have one pipeline. It was way over budget, way behind schedule because of government interference. The Americans get all of our oil, and they get to make all the profit. Same with natural gas. We have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. We have massive advantages in liquefying and shipping it. Well, for one, what do you need to do to liquefy gas? Cool it down. What do we have in Canada? Cold weather. You guys don't know anything about cold weather. No idea. It gets so cold in Ottawa that last winter Justin Trudeau was seen with his hands in his own pockets. Seriously, the engineers will tell you it takes 25% less energy to liquefy gas in Canada as it does in the U.S. Gulf Coast because of our cold weather. We have clean hydroelectricity. It takes only 11 days to ship gas from west coast of BC to Asia, and it takes 20 days to ship it from the U.S. Gulf Coast. We can get there in half the time. The same is true from Atlantic Canada over to Europe. Shortest shipping distances, nice cold weather, powerful, clean hydroelectricity. All we need are the permits to get it done. When I am Prime Minister, we will rapidly issue permits so that we can build natural gas liquefaction plants that will cool that gas down to minus 160 degrees, put it on a ship, send it off to Asia to displace dirty Asian coal fire, ship it off to Europe to break the European dependence on Putin and turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people in this country. He's not sure there's a business case. So we're going to do a little bit more math here. The North American price for natural gas right now is $4 per million metric British thermal units. $4. In Europe, it's $13. If you can buy something for $4 and sell it for $13 and do it billions and billions and billions of times, do you have a business case? Okay, you're all more qualified to be finance minister than Christy Freeland. And we're going to approve pipelines and mines. We'll repeal the unconstitutional anti-resource law C-69 so that we can produce more energy and resources in this country. My goal will be for us to have the fastest building permits in the developed world with the lowest taxes so that we can harvest our resources and bring home paychecks to our people. A big, beautiful, patriotic cut in red tape and taxes will bring it home for Canada. We have powerful paychecks. We need more boots and not more suits. We need the trades in this country. Where's Lucas? I met Lucas the carpenter earlier on. He's doing his red seal. Fantastic, young guy. Where's Lucas? There he is in the back. Lucas, a young carpenter, getting his red seal. I said it's the best thing you can do. We're going to make sure that the trades get more than their fair share of federal training and education dollars so that we can have more of our young people in the skilled trades, building the things that we need. I travel the country. I go to businesses, shop floors, mills, factories, distribution centers, and I'll tell you, all the businesses are now run by engineers and tradespeople. It's not MBAs and lawyers. Because the practical people, they're the ones that are getting things done, the people who know to make stuff, fix stuff, move stuff, and build stuff are the future of our economy, and we're going to unleash the trades economy for all of our young people. The same gatekeepers, though, that stand in the way of our resource jobs, stand in the way of affordable housing. Why is it that we have the biggest landmass by far in the G7 and the fewest homes? Isn't this incredible? We have enough land that if we spread everyone out evenly today, everyone would have 33 NFL-sized football fields to themselves. It would be the perfect place to be a hermit if you wanted to be in Canada. Right? That's how much land we have. And much of it is close to urban centers. The problem is you can't get a house built. Again, we have the second slowest permits and also by far the highest taxes. 60% of the cost of a new home built in Vancouver today is government. It's taxes, fees, charges, lawyers, accountants, lobbyists, and other government delays that all get passed on to the consumer. $1.3 million of governmental costs goes into every newly built Vancouver home today. And that is why it would take more than 100% of the average Vancouver family's monthly income to make monthly payments on the average Vancouver home, a mathematical impossibility. So more money from a new home goes to the bureaucrats than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers that actually build the homes. Add insult to injury when you think about the fact that those tradesmen who build the place can't afford to buy it. So here's the solution. We have to slash the bureaucracy and the taxes, starting with my commitment to axe the GST on new homes to save you up to $50,000 on the table. We will have a nationwide campaign to pressure the provinces to take their provincial sales taxes off new homes to save over $100,000 more. And then we will take our campaigns to the municipalities. I will require municipal governments speed up permits, free up land, and cut development taxes as a condition of getting federal infrastructure money. Here's the deal. We will link the number of dollars that municipalities get not to population, but instead to home building. They will be required to permit 15% more housing completions per year. If they beat the target, they'll get more money. If they miss the target, they'll get less. They'll be paid like realtors and home builders per home built, rather than just paying them to build up these monstrous bureaucracies. Municipal revenues have grown 2 times faster than inflation and population combined for 2.5 decades now. They have more than enough money to pay for the local infrastructure. The problem is they don't spend it on infrastructure. They spend it feeding the bureaucratic beast. No more building bureaucracy. It's time to build homes. We will axe the tax, slash the bureaucracy, and we will build the homes. We'll also sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build, and it warms my heart to think of the beautiful family rolling up in their U-Haul to move into their wonderful new home in the former headquarters of the CBC. We want these homes also to be in safe neighborhoods, so we will stop the crime. You know, let's break this problem down a little bit. So, first of all, the good news. We don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. Outside of the government, I mean. But seriously, we don't have a lot of criminals. The bad news is they're very productive. A very small number of people do a phenomenal amount of crime. One example. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times in 1 year. Each one of them, on average, was arrested every 2 days. That's just the times they got caught. And let me tell you, that takes a lot of work. If you're going to do enough crime to get arrested every 2 days, you've got to be out of the bed at the crack of dawn to rob a bank. You've got to be hijacking by noon and selling fentanyl on a street corner by 2 in the afternoon. These guys don't have benefits, they're not unionized. They do get room and board. They stay at the Hotel California. They check out, but they never really leave, right? They're in and out and in and out and in and out.
They're working hard.
Well, they are doing a lot of damage. Unfortunately, they're very destructive people. In Penticton, there's one guy named Levi. One guy. Ask your friends in Penticton about Levi. They all know. The police tell me that when they can tell when this guy's been out of jail because the crime rate for the entire town goes up when he's on the streets. Everybody knows him. One guy. So the solution is very simple. rampant career criminals should stay in jail. Very simple. And we will pass a law called jail not bail. It means repeat offenders will not be eligible for bail, parole, probation, or house arrest. It will be jail not bail, jail not bail, and we will also stop the drugs. We will put them out. The absolutely crackpot, insane, wacko drug experiment that the NDP Liberals have imposed. And nowhere, if I can be blunt, I hope you won't take offense, but nowhere has this wild, woke experiment been more thoroughly tried than right here in BC. It is nuts. Absolutely nuts. The public health agency in this province, directed by the NDP, has been taken over by wild, woke, pro-drug activists. And we know the results. They said they are experts. Well, experts look at the results of things. By far, BC has the highest overdose rate in all of Canada. And Canada has one of the highest overdose rates in all of the world. So the experiment has failed. We have lost 48,000 Canadians to overdose deaths in the last decade. More than died in the Second World War fighting for Canada. That is the insanity of this. They're giving out tax-funded, unsafe hydromorphine drugs. They had even vending machines where you could go and take out the drugs. They have effectively decriminalized or even legalized crack, heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. They don't even charge the criminals. 99% of the shipping containers come into our country completely uninspected. I mean, this is, you can't even make this stuff up. It is so insane. But when I'm Prime Minister, the insanity will end. We will ban the drugs. We will defund the unsafe supply. We will treat fentanyl kingpins, the traffickers, the manufacturers, and the organized crime behind them as the murderers that they are. They are murderers. They know that what they're doing is lethal. They are just as likely to kill someone when they sell 1,000 hits of fentanyl as they would if they fired bullets into a crowded room. They know they're killing people. And the criminal justice system should treat them, therefore, like murderers. And that's what they will do. We know how this all happened in the first place. How did fentanyl and the opioid crisis happen? Well, corrupt pharmaceutical companies pushed these drugs, OxyContin and others across North America, on suffering working class communities, on places where they had high levels of unemployment. They said it was pain management. There was no chance of overdose or addiction. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they were lying. They paid bonuses to distributors for each overdose that they caused. These are all facts now disclosed in the American government's lawsuit against these corrupt companies, for which they had to pay $54 billion in damages. I told you earlier that I would have a one-for-one, dollar-for-dollar rule. Well, I'll tell you this. We're going to have a big, beautiful drug treatment program. It's going to we're going to provide treatment recovery, detox, sweat lodges for First Nations, job finding, transitional housing to get people back on their feet. I want you to know there will be hope for people to turn their lives around, to heal their bodies and their souls, and make a new start. And we will pay for it. And we will pay for it under the dollar-for-dollar principle by suing the corrupt pharmaceutical companies that cause this problem and make them pay. We will no longer allow Big Pharma to dominate over our health policies. We will repeal C-47 so that you have the freedom of choice in buying your natural health products again. We will never again allow the horrible, nasty vaccine mandates that the government imposed. We'll bring home our freedom, in other words. Bring home our freedom. Make this a free nation. We will repeal the censorship laws. C-11 and C-63. You know, that's right. You're going to have free choice once again and free speech once again. We're no longer going to be giving federal grants to universities that silence politically incorrect voices. If you don't agree with Jordan Peterson, well, you'll have to debate him, and you'll lose, by the way. We'll stand up for the rights of parents to make their own decisions about what they teach their kids about sexuality and gender. From any involvement in the World Economic Forum. No longer will a global elite of powerful multinational corporations and multinational or governmental bodies try to dictate what we think, what we put in our bodies, what we say. They act for their own benefits at the expense of the world's working class. When I say bring it home, what I mean is not just bringing home more of your paycheck or bringing home more of our jobs. It means bringing home control of our lives to people, to families, to communities. It means taking back control of your life. It means a country with a common set of shared values, starting with freedom, where we don't divide people based on race and ethnicity and every other tribal definition that the government attempts to impose on us separately. We are all united. We are all together. We are all Canadians. We will stand up for Canada against any attempts to mistreat our nation. We will never be the 51st state of the United States. We will be Canadians. My message to our American neighbors is we love you as neighbors and as friends, but do not allow our polite demeanor and our humble tone to confuse you. We are deeply proud of our heritage as Canadians, and we will outdo Canadians. We will rebuild our military by bringing home our money, reinvesting in our forces, buying the best equipment, reasserting our claim and our presence in the Arctic to keep the Chinese and the Russian subs and spy balloons out of our territory. Our military will be guided by a warrior culture and not a woke culture. We will be a proud nation that bows and kneels before no one, with free and independent people, entrepreneurs, innovators, explorers, workers, people who are afraid of nothing and take on any challenge, people who lock arms and unite under one flag, Canada